When you think of the quintessential mid-1970s American car, generally what comes to mind are the big bumpered boats that came about after the EPA choked all the horsepower and fun out of the performance cars. The era of high horsepower brutes was gone and replaced with pseudo-luxury. And as a result, Japanese, British, and even European automakers were beginning to gain serious traction in America. Cars like the BMW 2002 and Triumph TR7 began to put the American automakers on notice, specifically General Motors, who would go on to work with one of the most famous names in racing to build their own compact performance car in an attempt to fend off the foreign onslaught. And that car was the 1975 to 1976 Chevrolet Cosworth Vega. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rare Cars. This is the channel where we dive into the past and explore some of the rarest and most iconic vehicles of all time. If you want to see more short-form documentaries on unique cars like the Cosworth Vega or other cars like the BMW 507, then make sure to subscribe to the Rare Cars YouTube channel and smash that notification button for weekly uploads. But now, let's get into the history of the quintessentially un-American American performance car, the Cosworth Vega. While the Cosworth Vega hit the streets of America in 1975, its story goes all the way back to 1969, and it started with a man by a familiar name, John DeLorean. At the time, DeLorean had ambitions of building a small displacement GM four-cylinder so that General Motors could compete and win against the smaller, more nimble European cars in select racing series. GM would enter into a partnership with Cosworth, who was an automotive engineering and performance powerhouse that was responsible for countless race-winning engines at the time, including the famous Cosworth DFV engine. Cosworth would go and take GM's 2.3-liter inline four-cylinder, which was known as the Quad 4, and de-stroke it down to a 2.0-liter engine to compete in the 2-liter class. In doing so, they redid all the engine's internals and they designed a new custom dual overhead cam head for it. They also made it run on a dry sump oil system and race gas. The result was a snappy and particularly nasty 260 horsepower, 2-liter, naturally aspirated race motor. Unfortunately, this engine did seem to suffer from reliability issues, which led to its eventual shelving, even though its performance proved rather impressive. But with all that R&D already done, and the performance pedigree of this engine apparent, DeLorean wanted to build a detuned version of this 2-liter engine for street use. Knocking down the power levels and engineering craziness of the race version should have made the street version fairly reliable, so Cosworth went ahead and did this. This new 2-liter street motor would still feature the very similar robust internals to the racing motor and that nice dual overhead cam design, with an electronic fuel injection system. But many quality of life changes were made for road use, such as switching the engine to a wet sump oiling system from the prior racing dry sump system. This new street version of the 2-liter inline 4, when finally tested, made 110 horsepower, which at the time was very good for a small engine like this, and it could rev to a modest 6,500 RPM. However, these engines had the capability to make much more horsepower, near the high 100 range. But to meet 50-state emissions requirements, GM had to drop the compression ratio substantially and make other changes to make these engines emissions compliant for road use. Now that the street engine was done, it was time to put this engine into a road car, so it could actually go ahead and make General Motors some money. The Chevy Vega was launched in 1970 as Chevrolet's subcompact offering. The 70 to 73 Vegas are often referred to as mini Camaros, due to their close resemblance to the early second-generation Camaros. The Vega itself received a body-style facelift in 1974 to meet new safety requirements, mainly with the bumpers. By the mid-1970s, the Vega wasn't selling as well as GM wanted it to. The somewhat performance-oriented Vega GT was the top-of-the-line Vega at the time, but people weren't that excited about it, even with its substantial suspension changes and really overall solid handling characteristics. GM figured that by combining the storied name and racing pedigree of Cosworth with the Vega GT, that they could create a car that customers would be way more interested in than just a normal Vega GT. And this was where the 2-liter engine would live. Chevrolet would use the Cosworth 2-liter street version of their inline-4 and stuff it into a modified Vega GT to create a handling-focused Vega that packed a very lively engine. The Cosworth Vega suspension compared to a standard Vega included a faster steering box with a 16:1 ratio for better steering response, upgraded front and rear sway bars to balance the handling more, upgraded shocks and struts, and even limiting cables attached to the rear axle to reduce wheel hop. The Cosworth Vegas also had an upgraded first gear in its 4-speed manual transmission to get better acceleration for the 1975 model year. For the 1976 model year, the Cosworth Vega received a 5-speed transmission upgrade and even a 4:10 rear gear ratio to further improve acceleration. Overall performance figures for the Cosworth Vegas included a 0-60 time of 7.7 seconds and a quarter-mile time of 17.7 seconds. This gave the Cosworth Vega the same 0-60 times as the 140 horsepower Jensen Healey and very similar 0-60 times to the 1975 Nissan 280Z. The Vega was a quick car in its class for the period, and it could stand toe-to-toe with most of the European offerings of a similar size, which absolutely put the Europeans on notice. On the exterior, it was also pretty easy to tell what a Cosworth Vega was apart from a regular Vega. In 1975, they only came in black with the signature Cosworth gold striping on the outside. On the inside, these Cosworth Vegas featured the Vega GT's interior package with a super cool gold machine turn dash insert to match the Cosworth decals on the outside. The 1976 model year of the Cosworth Vega received some minor overhauls, including new taillights, a new exhaust system, and a load of new interior and exterior color combinations, so the car was no longer available in just black. Unfortunately, though, Chevy ended up killing off the Cosworth Vega in 1976, and the Vega itself in its entirety in 1977. While the Cosworth Vega was an awesome experiment in low-displacement American performance, all of the extra effort to Cosworthify the Vega GT ended up resulting in an MSRP of $5,900, which was close to double the price of a base model Vega and less than $1,000 off from a base model Corvette. Couple this with the fact that these Vegas were known to have some really bad early rust issues and a series of other recalls that hurt their overall reputation with potential buyers. In total, only about 3,500 Cosworth Vegas were ever built. Fortunately though, as far as the classics that we have covered on this channel go, these Cosworth Vegas are actually the most affordable ones to purchase today. There are many nice examples out there currently listed in the $25,000 to $30,000 range, but solid project cars could also be had for well under $10,000. So while these don't have the crazy American V8, and while they're still definitely not the fastest car around, these Cosworth Vegas are a limited production compact sports car that's a solid handler with racing pedigree, with a particularly cool engine to back it all up, which in my opinion makes it one of the most fascinating and compelling choices for a relatively affordable limited production classic. And that is the short but exciting history of the 1975 to 1976 Cosworth Vega. If you enjoyed this video, we would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like and also share this video with other enthusiasts. Also, please make sure that you are subscribed to the Rare Cars YouTube channel and smash the notification bell for more documentary-style videos just like this on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts.